The slaughter begins. The Nexarian fleet appeared above Titan Station without warning. Captain Marcus Vale stood on the bridge of the research vessel Meridian, watching in horror as purple energy beams tore through the civilian transport ships. Like paper, families, scientists, children all vaporized in seconds for the entertainment of an alien audience. The Nexarians were six-limbed creatures with crystalline exoskeletons that reflected their homeworld's twin suns. They had discovered humanity 3 months ago and declared them suitable for sport. What followed was not war, but slaughter, broadcast live across their empire as entertainment. Lieutenant Zoe Kane gripped her console as another transport exploded. "Sir, the Horizon is requesting immediate evacuation assistance. They have 300 civilians aboard." Marcus watched helplessly as Nexarian fighter crafts circled the damaged ship like predators. The aliens weren't trying to destroy it quickly, they were prolonging the agony, savoring every scream that echoed across the emergency channels. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Nexarian command ship," reported Communications Officer James Reeves, his voice barely steady. The main screen flickered to life, revealing General Krexstar, his fur eyes gleaming with cruel satisfaction. Behind him, other Nexarians cheered and gestured wildly, celebrating each human death. Humans. Krexstar's translator made his voice sound like grinding metal. "Your species provides excellent entertainment. These preliminary hunts have exceeded all expectations. Soon we shall harvest your homeworld for the grand arena. 10 billion screaming voices will make for magnificent viewing." The transmission cut to footage from Titan Station's final moments. Children running through corridors as the station depressurized. Mothers clutching babies as bulkheads collapsed. Scientists desperately trying to transmit their research before the end. Marcus felt something cold and terrible crystallize in his chest. The Nexarians had made one crucial mistake. They had shown humanity exactly what kind of monsters they were. "Kane, set course for Earth. Maximum burn." "Sir, that will drain our fuel reserves completely." "Do it." Marcus turned to face his crew. "Send a priority message to Fleet Command. Tell them what we've seen here, every detail, every scream," as the Meridian jumped to hyperspace. Marcus stared at the tactical display showing the destroyed station. The Nexarians thought they had found easy prey. They had no idea they had just awakened something that had clawed its way to the top of evolution's ladder through countless wars and extinctions. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. They had built weapons that could crack planets and engines that could fold space. The Nexarians wanted a show. They were about to get one they would never forget. The journey to Earth would take 6 days. 6 days for the news to spread. 6 days for humanity to remember why they had once been called the most dangerous species in their local cluster. 6 days to prepare for war. The awakening Beastarth's Defense Council met in the deep bunkers beneath Geneva, where humanity's most classified projects slumbered in the dark. Admiral Rex Morrison studied the footage from Titan Station with grim satisfaction. The Nexarians had given them the perfect justification. Project Reaper is operational. Morrison asked Dr. Vincent Shaw, the lead scientist on humanity's most secret weapons program. Shaw nodded slowly. "The fleet has been waiting in the Kuiper Belt for 15 years. 120 vessels, each equipped with quantum destabilizers and neural disruptors. They're eager." The Reaper ships were humanity's darkest creation. Designed not just to kill, but to terrorize, each vessel was crewed by volunteers who had undergone psychological conditioning. Men and women who had volunteered to become something no longer entirely human. "What about Captain Vega's modifications?" Morrison continued. "Complete. Her crew underwent the enhancement process 3 months ago. They're no longer bound by normal human limitations. No fear, no hesitation, perfect coordination. They've been training in deep space, waiting for targets worthy of their capabilities." Captain Isabella Vega had once been humanity's most decorated pilot. After volunteering for the enhancement program, she had become something else entirely, a predator in human form, leading a crew of similarly modified warriors. The council chamber's screens lit up with tactical displays showing the Nexarian Empire. 57 worlds, each one a fortress bristling with weapons. Their fleets numbered in the thousands. backed by technologies humanity was only beginning to understand. They have superior numbers and technology, noted General Patricia Cross. Standard warfare would be suicide. Morrison smiled grimly. Who said anything about standard warfare? Show them the Phantom Protocol. The screens shifted to display humanity's real response. While the Nexarians had been celebrating their slaughter at Titan Station, human deep space monitors had been tracking their fleet movements, mapping their supply lines, identifying their civilian populations. We're not going to fight their fleets. Morrison explained. We're going to teach them what terror truly means. Every Nexarian world, every space station, every ship, they'll learn that humanity doesn't just wage war. We perfect it. The enhancement program had produced 12 ship crews, each one stripped of normal human emotions and rebuilt as perfect instruments of war. They felt no pity, no remorse, no satisfaction, only the cold calculation needed to destroy their enemies. Completely, Captain Vega's squadron will begin the systematic elimination of Nexarian outposts. Morrison continued. No prisoners, no mercy, no quick deaths. We'll broadcast every moment back to their homeworld. Just as they did to us. Shaw shifted uncomfortably. Sir, the psychological profiles suggest the enhanced crews may not be able to return to normal society. After this campaign, Morrison's expression didn't change. They knew that when they volunteered, they chose to become monsters so the rest of humanity wouldn't have to. In the depths of space, Captain Vega received her orders aboard the stealth destroyer Nemesis. Her enhanced mind processed the tactical data with inhuman precision, already calculating the most efficient ways to break Nexarian morale. The aliens had wanted entertainment. Humanity would give them nightmares instead. The Hunters become Praith Nexarian mining colony on Zirian Prime had been established for 300 years. Its crystalline spires housed 10 million civilians who had never seen war, only heard stories of the glorious hunts their military conducted against lesser species. They were sleeping peacefully when Captain Isabella Vega's enhanced crew arrived. The Nemesis and her sister ships materialized from stealth like ghosts given form. No warnings were broadcast, no demands made. The enhanced humans had moved beyond such concepts as mercy or honor. They were here to deliver a message written in blood and terror. Vega stood motionless on her bridge, her modified neural pathways processing thousands of data streams simultaneously. Her crew worked in perfect silence, their enhanced coordination, eliminating the need for verbal communication. Beginning orbital bombardment, reported Tactical Officer Nathan Cross, his voice devoid of emotion. The enhancement process had burned away everything human except their intelligence and ruthless efficiency. The first salvo wasn't designed to destroy, it was designed to trap. Precise strikes crippled the colony's defense systems and communication arrays while leaving the population centers intact. The Nexarians below found themselves cut off, helpless, with nowhere to run. Then the real horror began. Vega's Marines descended not as soldiers, but as instruments of calculated terror. They moved through the crystal corridors with mechanical precision, their enhanced bodies requiring no rest, no sustenance, no emotional support. They were death-given human form. The Nexarians, evolved from peaceful crystal formations, had no concept of the kind of systematic brutality that followed. The enhanced humans didn't kill quickly, they made examples. They carved messages into the crystalline walls using Nexarian bodies, creating art from atrocity. Population reduction at 67%, Cross reported as if discussing weather patterns, psychological impact reaching optimal levels from across the Nexarian Empire. Horrified officials watched the live feeds that Vega's crew had established throughout the colony. Every scream, every moment of terror, every creative brutality was broadcast in high definition. General Krekstar, who had orchestrated the Titan Station massacre, watched his own civilians experience the helplessness he had inflicted on humans. But where the human slaughter had been quick, efficient entertainment, this was something far worse: systematic, purposeful horror designed to break minds rather than just end lives. Make it stop, Krekstar commanded his fleet commanders. Send everything, destroy those monsters. But Vega had anticipated this response. As Nexarian warships jumped into the system, They found not just the human raiders, but a carefully orchestrated trap. The enhanced crews had seeded the space around Zirion Prime with quantum mines and gravity wells. The Nexarian relief fleet arrived to find their own ships crushed by weaponized physics. Their crews slowly suffocated in the vacuum while Vega's emotionless warriors continued their methodical destruction of the colony below. Message composition complete, Vega announced, her voice carrying no satisfaction, no emotion at all. She was simply reporting the completion of a task. The message was carved into the colony's main spire. Using the arranged bodies of 10,000 Nexarians, this is mercy compared to what comes next. As the enhanced human fleet vanished back into stealth, they left behind a world of broken crystal and shattered minds. The survivors would carry the images forever, spreading fear like a virus throughout Nexarian space. Humanity had learned the rules of the Nexarian game. They had simply chosen to play it better. The Empire Trembles Nexarian High Council convened an emergency session. Aboard their grand fortress ship Eternal Glory, a vessel the size of a small moon that had never known defeat, Elder Zixara, ancient even by their crystalline standards, gazed at the tactical displays with growing terror. 17 colonies destroyed in 5 days, reported war leader Thakmos, his usually confident bearing now trembling with fear. These humans, they don't fight like any species we've encountered. They're systematic, calculating. They leave no survivors to rebuild, no hope to sustain resistance. The displays showed the aftermath of humanity's campaign. Each target had been chosen not for military value, but for psychological impact. Civilian worlds, cultural centers, places of religious significance all systematically erased by Captain Vega's enhanced crews. They broadcast everything, Elder Zixara whispered, her crystalline form flickering with distress. Our own people watch their families die in real time. Knowing we cannot save them, morale across the Empire has collapsed. The humans had done something unthinkable. They had turned the Nexarians' own propaganda machine against them. Every act of calculated brutality was transmitted across their networks, forcing the entire Empire to witness their helplessness. Captain Marcus Vale, now commanding a small reconnaissance fleet, monitored Nexarian communications from deep space. What he heard both satisfied and horrified him. They're recalling their frontier fleets, reported his new tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Winters. Entire sectors are being abandoned to protect their core worlds. Vale nodded grimly. The enhanced crews were doing their job perfectly too. Perfectly, each victory came at the cost of humanity's soul. But it was working. The mighty Nexarian Empire was contracting in fear. Meanwhile, aboard the Nemesis, Captain Vega received new targeting data. Her enhanced mind processed the information with mechanical efficiency, identifying the next population center to be made an example of suffering. Sir, Tactical Officer Cross reported, we're detecting massive Nexarian fleet movements. They're concentrating everything around their homeworld of Nexia Prime. Vega studied the tactical display without emotion. 2,000 Nexarian warships, the largest fleet in their history, all desperately trying to protect what remained of their civilization. Transmit our position to Admiral Morrison, she ordered. Request deployment of the Final Phase assets. The Final Phase Project Omega, humanity's ultimate weapon, held in reserve for exactly this moment, when an entire species needed to be taught that some lines should never be crossed. Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison received Vega's transmission in the same Geneva bunker. Where this campaign had begun, the enhanced crews had performed beyond all expectations, reducing a galactic empire to a cowering remnant in mere days. Begin Omega deployment, he commanded. Authorization Morrison 77 Alpha. In hidden shipyards scattered across the solar system, humanity's final answer began to wake. Ships that made the enhanced crews look merciful, weapons that could crack the fundamental forces of reality itself. The Nexarians had wanted to hunt humanity for sport. They had learned too late that humans were the apex predators of their galaxy, patient, methodical, and utterly without mercy when pushed beyond their breaking point. Soon, they would learn what it meant to face a species that had evolved from the most successful killers in their planet's history, a species that had weaponized not just physics and chemistry, but terror itself. The Nexarian Empire had days, perhaps hours, before they faced extinction, and they would face it knowing that they had brought this nightmare upon themselves by choosing to make entertainment from human suffering. Their arena had indeed run red with human blood. Now it was time for the nightmare to be unleashed. The final lesson at Prime burned beneath a crimson sky as Admiral Morrison's Omega fleet emerged from quantum fold space. These weren't ships in any conventional sense, they were weapons platforms, built around singular technologies that violated the known laws of physics. The reality's end, Morrison's flagship, existed partially outside normal spacetime, its hull flickering between dimensions. Around it, 36 dreadnoughts, each carrying a single, terrible purpose. On the surface of Nexar Prime, 40 billion Nexarians watched their sky tear open like paper as humanity's final answer revealed itself. The proud crystalline cities that had stood for millennia now reflected the light of weapons that could unmake matter itself. General Krekstar, the architect of humanity's suffering, stood in his command bunker deep beneath the planetary crust. His four eyes darted between displays showing impossible readings, ships that existed and didn't exist, weapons that targeted not just matter but the fundamental forces holding reality together. Incoming transmission, his aide whispered, voice cracking with terror. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on every screen across Nexar Prime. Behind him, the bridge of the reality's end hummed with energies that made the air itself scream. Nexarians, Morrison began, his voice carrying across an empire in its death throes. You came to our worlds seeking entertainment. You murdered our children for sport. You broadcast our suffering for your amusement. The transmission shifted to show the enhanced crew's Captain Vega and her warriors, no longer entirely human, standing at attention. Their eyes held no emotion, no satisfaction, only the cold certainty of completed objectives. These volunteers sacrificed their humanity so that our species might survive. They became monsters by choice, so that you might learn what true monsters look like. On the surface, Nexarian civilians pressed against crystal viewing ports, watching as the Omega fleet moved into final position. The weapons they carried were beyond their comprehension, devices that could unweave the atomic bonds holding their planet together, but they were merely the opening act. Morrison continued, you wanted spectacle. You shall have it. You wanted to see a species die for your entertainment. Watch carefully. The first Omega weapon fired not energy, not matter, but pure negation. A sphere of absolute void expanded from the muzzle, erasing everything it touched, not by destroying it, but by convincing reality that it had never existed. Nexarian warships simply ceased. Not destroyed, not vaporized, they became nothing, leaving behind not even the memory of their presence. Your empire built itself on the suffering of others. Morrison's voice echoed across a civilization facing its own extinction. You perfected cruelty, elevated brutality to art. You hunted the innocent for sport. Another weapon fired. This one targeted the planet's core, but not to destroy it. Instead, it slowly began converting the molten rock into a crystalline structure that would preserve the planet's death agonies for eternity, a monument to the consequences of crossing humanity. Captain Vega, monitoring from the Nemesis, felt something stirring in her enhanced consciousness. Not emotion that had been burned away, but perhaps the ghost of what she had once been. The mission was complete. Humanity was safe. The price had been everything that made them human. We didn't want this war, Morrison concluded. As the Omega fleet's weapons charged for their final salvo, we wanted to explore, to learn, to grow alongside other species. You forced us to become something we never wished to be. The last thing the Nexarians saw was their star beginning to collapse, pulled into a carefully controlled implosion that would take millennia to complete. Their entire system would become a beacon of warning, a testimony to what happened when you mistook humanity's peaceful nature for weakness. As the Omega fleet vanished back into quantum fold space, they left behind only silence and the slow, inevitable death of an empire that had chosen to hunt the wrong prey. The galaxy would remember the lesson. Humanity could be peaceful, curious, generous, but they could also be the most efficient killers reality had ever produced. The arena had run red with human blood. In return, An entire empire had learned that some nightmares wear human faces, and some prices are paid in the extinction of entire civilizations. The hunt was over. Humanity had won.